you're a migrant living in the UK, or you are thinking of coming to the UK, and you are someone who doesn't like to research, you don't like to read, you don't like to ask questions, you don't like to seek for legal counsel when you want to take an important step that you are not even certain of, then you might just land yourself in a hot mess, or you might land yourself on the wrong side of the law in the UK. And so watch this video to the end. You might find it very insightful, and if you know anyone living in the UK, share with them so that they can also learn one or two from this story that we are about to talk about in this video. Also like this video as you are watching, so YouTube can go ahead to recommend it to as many people that may need it. Okay, what am I saying? What am I talking about? Research and reading and all that. In today's video, we are going to talk about a care worker who has been deported from the UK for what I would say is misinterpretation of the immigration law. It's something that when someone thinks about it, or someone looks at it, or even for myself, I'm thinking it's quite a harsh decision on the part of the courts to go ahead to decide that she needs to leave the country because of this mistake. An honest mistake, I would say, but who am I when the court has already ruled? Okay, so what am I talking about? What happened? There is this lady that took her case to the courts to get a judicial review, and it happens that the ruling came out just this year in January, which wasn't in her favor. What happened was that this lady came into the UK somewhere in 2023, let's say 8th of June 2023, on the health and care workers visa, and then she was supposed to start work somewhere in 1st July 2023. Okay, and it so happened that on the 28th of June 2023, that same month that she entered into the UK, she was caught by the immigration enforcement or immigration officers doing a whole different thing together. Usually immigration officers or enforcement officers go raid places here and there, or just go do routine checks of various businesses to make sure that they are going according to the rules and regulations of the country, or that they are not hiring any illegal immigrants. So though this lady was a legal migrant to the UK, she was doing something that was not legal according to her visa. So when the officers got into this convenience shop, this lady was the one on duty. She was serving customers, she was receiving money and giving change and all that. And then usually when they enter such a place, the officers will ask every non-British person to show their proof of living in the UK. Okay, so when they asked this lady, how did you get to the UK? What visa are you on? What are you doing and all that? They got to realize that she was on the health and care worker visa. So then if you're on the health and care worker visa, what are you doing selling or serving people in a convenience shop? And so this lady said that she was doing it voluntarily for a friend. She was just helping out, she was not being paid for that. And so when investigations were done, everything went on, they decided that this lady was in breach of her visa, and then they cancelled her visa and then gave her a letter to leave the UK. They were actually in the process of deporting her that same 2023. Just 20 days of being in the UK, she was already being deported. And who knows how she even got to the UK anyways, if she had to sell some properties, if she had to take out all her savings to come to them, because usually coming to the UK on a visa is not cheap at all, and getting here just a few days, you are being deported back to your home country. What are you going back to? Where are you going to start from? And so she decided to appeal and then take this issue to the High Court for judicial review. Then the ruling came just January 17th of this year, and unfortunately it was not in her favor. It was in the favor of the Secretary of State of the Home Department. Okay, and so that their ruling stands that this lady has to be deported back to her country, which is India, because she's in breach of her visa, and that is the punishment that she's facing. And so with this deportation issues that are going, it's getting worse each day, and any least mistake is like an opportunity for you to get deported as a migrant. So let's all be careful. Let's get into the details, one or two about the story, and then gather some lessons from it. Okay, Miss Andrews, an Indian national, entered the UK on 8 June 2023 with a visa as a skilled worker on the healthcare visa. On 28 June 2023, immigration enforcement officers observed her at a convenience store in Andover, where she was serving customers behind the counter. Ms. Andrews contended that her actions were permitted as unpaid voluntary work under Home Office guidance for skilled worker leave to remain holders. However, the Secretary of State determined that her activities breached the conditions of her leave to remain. As a result, her leave to remain was cancelled. Initially, when it was cancelled, they were preparing to deport her. Then she decided to take it to the court. Okay, and then the court's ruling came out as the High Court dismissed Ms. Andrews' claim for judicial review, holding that her actions breached the conditions of her leave to remain. The court made the following key observations. The court reaffirmed the legal hierarchy governing immigration matters, stating the hierarchy is statutes, the rules and regulations, and then the guidance. So there is what we call the immigration rules and regulations, and there is what is the guidance. Usually you find the guidance in the government website. So let's go and see what it talks about. Additional work on the skilled worker visa on the government page. Okay, taking on additional work. If you work overtime in the job you are being sponsored for, you do not need to update your visa. There's no limit to how many hours of overtime you can do. That is, if you are working for your sponsor overtime, you can do as many hours as you want. If you are working for you do not need to change your visa. You can also work up to 20 hours a week in another job or for your own business, as long as you are still doing the job you are being sponsored for. Then your work must be in an eligible occupation code. You can also do unpaid voluntary work. So that is what the guidance says, but the real explanations and everything to this guidance is in the rules and regulations of the immigration. Who even think about this? If you decide not to research and go into details, you might think you just take it on the face value that, okay, I'm allowed to work 20 hours and just go take any other job and do in a different field. But now understanding it is that you cannot do a different job in a totally different field, but in the field that you have been sponsored to come and work in the UK. So if you're a carer, you can do an additional 20 hours in that care field, and not like this lady doing it in convenience shop. And it says if you be doing more than 20 hours a week in another job, you will need to apply to update your visa so that you are being sponsored to do both jobs. That is, if you are doing more than 20 hours, you need to get a sponsorship from that other job. Then you update your visa. You have two jobs and you have sponsorship for both jobs. You will need to, one, get a new certificate of sponsorship from your second employer, and two, include a letter with your application explaining that you want to change your current permission to stay. So like, let's keep this in mind as we read the judgment of Miss Andrews' case. The hierarchy is statute, the rules and regulations, and then the guidance. Okay, so the rules and regulations is like the law, and the guidance is more like a summary of the law. Okay, so if they are going to go by anything, usually they will go by the law, the rules and regulations. So this means that while Home Office guidance can be helpful, it cannot override or modify immigration rules or statutory provisions. So they are going to explain what voluntary work means under the immigration rules and regulations. So the court observed Miss Andrews was given leave to enter the UK on 28 June 2023 for the purpose of starting work as a care worker on 1st July 2023. She did not have permission to work in any other role. She accepts that when she was encountered by immigration enforcement on 28 June 2023, she was working. However, she contends that she was working in accordance with the Home Office guidance for skilled workers, in that while working in Charlton convenience store, she was carrying out voluntary work. So here they explain what a voluntary worker is. Okay, so a voluntary worker should be an individual who is not merely working for no remuneration. The worker has to be employed by a charity, voluntary organization, an associated fundraising body, or a statutory body who is not entitled to any monetary payments of any description and no benefits in kind. This is where you can legally work voluntarily in a charity, voluntary organization, or a fundraising body and all that. But if you are working in someone's business and you are not receiving payments, that is not a voluntary work in the immigration law. Then Miss Andrews is in breach of this act because she's working in a business, and if she's not receiving any payments for that, it's still not a voluntary work. There is some form of conflict between the immigration rules and then the immigration guidance, which Miss Andrews, I believe, didn't know at the time, or was not aware of, or didn't really understand. So Miss Andrews relied on Home Office guidance, which allows skilled workers to undertake unpaid voluntary work. However, the court noted, insofar as there is a conflict between the interpretation of the rules and regulation and guidance, the former takes precedence. So what it's saying is that if there is some kind of conflict between the immigration rules and regulations and the immigration guidance, then immigration rules and regulations is supreme. It's what you should hold on to and not the guidance. Now, the lessons we should learn from this: know the restrictions on your visa and always consult the immigration rules first. Even if you know the guidance, that is the summary of the rule, after you read it, you should go into details to know what the rule and the regulations say about it. Okay, the immigration rules from the authority legal framework for visa compliance guidance can offer helpful insights, but must always be cross-checked against the rules. So every time you read from the guidance, always cross-check it against the rules to make sure that you are not breaking any rules or any law at all. Then when you get to know that and you get to know the restrictions on your visa, stick to the restrictions on your visa. Do not do anything that you are not permitted to do at all, so you do not find yourself on the wrong side of the law. Because now that every mistake is seen as something that you could be deported for, you do not want to stand any risk of deportation at all. And always, if you are in doubt, make sure that you are asking questions, you are researching, you are seeking for legal counsel. It's so unfortunate that this care worker that's left her country trying to seek greener pastures here in the UK found herself in this mess without maybe a simple misunderstanding of the law or misinterpretation, whatever it was. She probably didn't know, or she probably didn't research enough or ask questions enough. And so it's so unfortunate what happened to her. But then we are drawing lessons from this. And so you should always know the requirements on your visa, the restrictions on your visa, and stick to every one of it. And always abide by the rules and regulations so you do not find yourself wanting. Okay? If you are new to the channel, my name is Philomena, and on this channel I talk about motherhood, lifestyle, living abroad, and general inspirations. So if you found this video insightful, do not forget to like, share, and then subscribe to the channel. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for your support always. This brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.